Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. There is a new Alpha 3.2.3 patch which brings a ton of optimizations, in particular for the Vulkan API. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members, in particular to my latest patron, the Rajax. Thank you so much for the support, it is truly appreciated. So the latest Alpha 3.2.3 patch, which released yesterday to the ePTU, still for Wave 2, but this particular patch has seen a significant number of optimizations, especially for the Vulkan API, which as we know made its way in about a week or two ago. So today I will run through the patch notes and list all of the changes, and the footage in the background is from this very patch, so it should be a good example as to how performance is. Anyway, starting with locations and distribution centers, they have performed a performance art and lighting polish pass on them, and they have added new civilian and desk worker NPC archetypes to distribution centers as well. So it does appear that as time goes on, these distribution centers are getting more and more optimizations, just like we saw with the settlements when they first came in, which were essentially unplayable when they first released. Hopefully the same will be happening to DCs, getting more and more playable, while in the ePTU phase, so that when they go to live, the frame rate is fine. Now for gameplay and targeting, you are no longer required to scan a target before seeing the available sub-targets, which certainly seems like a good idea. Jamming now only blocks quantum drive spooling. They have removed the pixel grid and monitor effects on the MOBIGLASS card materials. They have added a scroll bar to the objective page on the contracts manager, and they have lowered gimbal and scattergun fire rates, amongst other smaller changes. For weapons, they have increased the magazine sizes for the Bearing pistol, which is the S38 I believe, the Kastak Arms Kana plasma rifle, the Bearing P4 AR assault rifle, and the Gemini SMG, which I think is referring to the C54. So they are still clearly tweaking and balancing all of the FPS stuff, which is good to see, making sure that everything fits where it's supposed to. Now for ships and vehicles, it says they have heavily optimized the Pisces thrusters and visual improvements. The Mantis quantum drive fuel capacity was increased to improve the ship's capabilities, and the Starlifter's fuel tanks were reverted back to previous values as they were way too high. So also a lot of tweaks for ships and vehicles, and we are likely going to see a lot more of these sort of small value alterations over the course of development as it gets closer and closer to 1.0, as they will want everything to be perfect. But I suspect this will take quite a bit of time and multiple iterations. Now onto the core tech for this particular patch. First up is something called Vulkan PSO pre-compiling, and this says Vulkan will now pre-compile all PSOs, which is the shader cache, when the game starts for the current quality setting. It says this may take up to several minutes, but will prevent any stuttering or hitching of the game at runtime, and it is advised to wait until the process is complete before launching the game. And there will be a little bit of text in the lower left-hand corner saying optimizing shaders, so you know when it's happening. Also, do bear in mind, changing the graphical quality settings in the menu will restart this process and compile all the PSOs for that current setting as well. So great to see them tackling these micro stutters, which must be caused by the Vulkan API. Not an ideal solution, as you will be held up before you're able to launch, but I'm sure I've seen other games doing this, and it is certainly worth doing so to avoid these little stutters. Now also for core tech in terms of optimizations, they have made further Vulkan renderer optimizations, further Vulkan shader optimizations, further network performance optimizations, server physics performance optimizations, and location streaming performance optimizations, plus they have put in further safeguards to help stop elevators and transits behaving erratically. They have done lighting performance optimizations and polished lighting of raised wave crests viewed from a shallow angle. So, a lot of performance optimizations there. CIG are really working and pushing on performance and stability for many areas. It is great hearing that they are doing network, location streaming, and physics optimizations as well. They did also mention that for 3.2.3, it is going to be heavily focused on stability and performance, and it certainly seems to be that way. But at the time of recording, I haven't played it yet, so hopefully the background footage will give some indication as to whether it's worked or not. Now, there are also 24 more bug fixes 10 client crashes fixed, 10 server crashes fixed, 3 client deadlocks fixed, and a Vulkan-specific client crash fixed as well. So really happy to see that they are pushing performance as much as possible, and we haven't even had multi-threading enabled with Vulkan yet either. So that is supposed to be bringing the most significant gains in terms of performance, but very happy to see that they have been working hard in this area. Now, in regards to when Alpha 3.23 is supposed to release to live, I see a lot of people asking. As always though, there are never any exact dates. It is always tentative, it is always ready when it's ready. The end of April is the most accurate date that they have provided. And now that it is in Wave 2, and the hangar, freight elevator, and cargo updates are no longer slated to release in the initial 3.23 release, coming later in a 3.23 point patch, I think it is highly likely to see 3.23 release at the end of April or very early in May. So my estimation would be around the 30th of this month, but of course anything can come up and it takes as long as it takes. Now, I would presume that the 3.23.1 patch will come along for Invictus, which usually happens around the end of May. And for those asking, is server meshing in 3.23? No, it is not, and it was never intended to be. The replication layer separation has been done for the initial release of 3.23, which is a big win, as this was the next step to getting to server meshing. But the last thing CIG said in regards to server meshing was a tentative date of summertime this year, which is quite a big window, but that is when they're expecting to release Alpha 4.0, which will be server meshing, jump points, and the pyro system. Of course, Alpha 3.23 does get us significantly closer to Alpha 4.0, but there is still a lot of testing to do before 4.0 can come along. But there you go. That was the latest Alpha 3.23 patch notes. Apologies for the lack of content, especially in the 3.23 area. April has been a bit of a busy month for me family-wise, so I am playing a bit of catch-up, and it's not looking to quieten down anytime soon either, unfortunately, but I will be streaming this afternoon over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother, playing some 3.23, as I have barely been able to play any of it, so really looking forward to jumping in and hanging out with you lot. You are all more than welcome. And if you do appreciate my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, using my links or discount codes below for the TOBII tracker, GAMEGLASS, or MONSTERTECH mounts will get you 5% off any purchase, and it will also directly support my channel. So thank you so much in advance if you do so. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Cannot do this without you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.